The first thing you need to know about me is that I don't give a flying fuck about anyone's moral compass. You want to judge me? Fine. But when you're hauling the galaxy's worst scum to a black site on the moon, you don't have the luxury of being a saint. My name's irrelevant, but they call me the Transit Warden. Warden for short. And tonight's when everything turned sideways. The shuttle's interior was a cold, metallic coffin, lit by the faint glow of emergency lights. The air smelled like recycled sweat and coffee. My cargo? 3 prisoners. Not your average pickpockets or white-collar criminals. No, these were the kind of monsters who stole the boogeyman's lunch money. First, there was Krell, a 7-foot-tall ex-mercenary with a face that looked like it had been carved out of granite, and then set on fire. His hands were cuffed, and he was strapped down tight in a pod, but I knew better than to think that made him harmless. The second was Zara, a cyber-enhanced assassin with a body count higher than the population of some small planets. And then there was the third, the one they called Crow. No one knew what he looked like. He was just a shadow inside his containment suit, his face hidden behind a black visor.
You ever think about just letting us go?
Krell's voice rumbled like distant thunder, his yellow teeth showing through his grin.
I mean, what's the moon got that we haven't already ruined?
I didn't answer. Instead, I checked the readouts on my wrist console. Oxygen levels stable, gravity holding. No anomalies. Yet.
He's not much of a talker. Probably because his mouth is full from that stick jammed so far up his ass.
Zara said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Fuck you, I muttered, adjusting the grip on my pulse rifle. And if you don't shut your mouth, I'll make sure you're the first one out the airlock. That shut them up. For about 5 seconds. Didn't matter. As soon as I made my checks, I hit the snooze button, and just like that, they went into stasis. Finally, some silence. The shuttle shuddered as we hit a patch of turbulence. The moon's surface loomed in the distance from the viewport, a desolate wasteland of craters and shadows. This was it, the black site Orion, the real end of the line for the worst of the worst. I don't ever ask what they do to get sent here, and I don't want to know. You don't just get sent to Orion unless you've done something so fucked up a whole-ass planet doesn't want you anymore. No appeals, no parole. Just a one-way ticket to the silent, airless graveyard beyond the dark side of the moon. I'd made this run 50 times. 50. It was routine. Strap 'em in, knock 'em out, deliver the package. Easy money. Except for the ones who screamed before the sedative hit. Those were the worst.
5 minutes to descent.
The autopilot chirped in my ear. The dropship shuddered as we entered Orion's gravity field, the engines burning hard against the void. I checked my cargo. 3 convicts, locked down and unconscious. That's when I noticed a movement in my viewfinder. It was Crow. He turned his head toward me. The fucker was awake. I turned, pulse hammering. He was still restrained, still locked in tight. But he shouldn't have been awake. Not yet. Got something on your mind? I asked, resting a hand on my pulse rifle strapped next to me. Crow's visor tilted just enough for me to see my own reflection. And I swear to every miserable star in the sky, it winked at me. The shuttle's comms crackled to life then. Warden, this is Control. You're cleared for landing. Proceed to Sector 7. Copy that, I replied, my eyes never leaving the prisoner. I released the valve that would spit out the right gases to wake up the other 2. The landing was rough, the shuttle groaning as it touched down, jolting everything and everyone. I pressed the control to unlock their pods and stood, my pulse rifle trained on the trio. On your feet. Move. They complied. Their restraints holding them inside their pods released, and they shuffled toward the airlock, shackles around their hands and feet rattling. Crow was last, his movements eerily silent. Somehow I knew he was watching me, even though I couldn't see his eyes. The airlock hissed open, revealing a dimly lit corridor. The black site was a maze of steel and concrete, designed to keep the worst of the worst contained. But as we moved deeper, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The lights flickered.
Great. Just fucking great. You guys can't even pay your light bill.
I ignored her, focusing on the task at hand. We reached the first checkpoint, a heavy steel door with a biometric scanner. I pressed my hand to the panel, and the door slid open with a groan. That's when the screaming started. It was faint at first, like a distant echo. But as we moved deeper, it grew louder, more desperate.
Sounds like a party.
Shut up and keep moving, I ordered, though my own nerves were fraying. There are always screams in prison, but this seemed different. We reached the holding area, a series of cells lined with reinforced steel and glass. I began securing the prisoners, starting with Krell. He didn't resist, but his eyes never left mine.
You're making a mistake,
he said, his voice low. Yeah? I replied, slamming the cell door shut. He just looked at me. Zara was next. She smirked as I locked her in, like she knew something I didn't. And then there was the crow. I didn't want him near me. Something about him made my skin crawl, but I didn't have a choice. I opened the door and motioned for him to step inside. He didn't move. Get in, I said, my voice firm. Still nothing. I raised my pulse rifle, aiming it at his chest. Last chance. That's when the lights went out. Total blackout. Then the sound. Metal grinding metal, slow and shrieking like someone peeling open a steel coffin. And Crow moved. I fired blindly, each muzzle flash giving me snapshots of horror. In one flicker, I saw it. His suit was sloughed open, peeled back like a second skin. But inside wasn't flesh. He was a swirling, shifting mass of liquid smoke, a void. Like something had chewed a hole in space and stitched it into a man shape. Then the lights blinked back on. He was gone. Fuck, I spat, spinning like a cornered dog. Krell and Zara were still locked up, but even they looked uneasy. And when ex-mercs and assassins get shifty, you pay attention. That's when the real screaming started. Wetter, throatier, like meat learning to talk. I backed toward the door, rifle raised, breath short, balls in my throat. Just as the first body hit the floor from the upper deck, or part of one. It was a guard, or what was left of one. His uniform was shredded, his rib cage splayed open like a grotesque flower. His face was frozen in a silent scream, his eyes wide and glassy. Blood pooled beneath him, black in the sickly light. I hit the panel to open the outside door. Nothing. I moved forward, stepping around Crow's peeled open containment suit. It slumped against the floor like a ruptured chrysalis. Tendrils of black slime trailed from the inside like mucus threads, still twitching. The air reeked of ammonia and rotted copper. My boots squelched through blood that wasn't fresh. It was just sludge now. Krell's cell door was halfway open, its hinges twisted on the inside. I swept my rifle across the room, heart hammering. Zara remained behind her glass, her hands pressed to it, cybernetic pupils dilating with a hiss and glowing.
Warden, you need to see this.
The creatures varied. Some small, spider-like translucent skin stretched over writhing muscle. Others the size of dogs, their heads a mash of feelers and cartilage plates, snapping like crab jaws. One had a body like a flayed deer with arms where antlers should be, dragging a trail of skin. Krell stepped out of his cell. I didn't even hear him peel back the bolts that held it together. We stared down the hall.
We need higher ground.
Zara said, stepping up to us, eyes scanning, calculating. I was only momentarily in my what-the-hell state when I remembered the power went out, which meant the ability suppressors were out too. I turned back to see melted glass, edges molten hot from Zara's eye laser. You two gonna play nice? I asked.
You want to live or not, Warden?
Fair point. We moved, fire in short bursts. Pulse rounds took out some of the smaller ones. The spider things burst like sacks of meat confetti. The bigger ones needed teamwork. Krell smashed a flayed deer thing with a steel bench. Zara fried a leech-headed crawler with her arm cannon. I dropped a cluster of them with the rifle. Still, we were losing ground. Every room we passed had evidence of the carnage. Exploded torsos, chewed faces, shattered cages. Even the fucking Mokhtari, those armored bastards with triple hearts, had been ripped open like overripe fruit.
This was a breeding ground, not a prison.
We found Crow in the center of the facility, in what used to be the mess hall. He stood, half human, half nightmare. His flesh was liquefying in places, melting into oily limbs that extended into the surrounding corpses. He was connected to them, feeding, growing.
They will feast on you.
He gurgled, voice layered and wrong, and like a switch, those things rushed us. We ran, barricaded ourselves in what we thought was a med lab. Oddly, the monitors still ran. Then on the inside, we found answers. Footage of prisoners eating, their food being injected with clear serum. Logs showed it started small. Trace doses, then more, then eggs. Zara flipped through video files. One showed a test subject screaming as the side of his head inflated, then ruptured. Another showed the same thing happening to a handler. The logs called it Project Hollow. The idea? Plant organisms and violent hosts. Let the parasite grow alongside their rage. When mature, the creature would gestate inside the body, hollow it out, and leave behind a conduit, a sentient apex mind. That mind would serve as a beacon, to devour planets. Crow wasn't the disease, he was the signal flare, and the moon, just the appetizer. Then we heard it, skittering. Then a slam, loud, rattled the steel-reinforced door. We jumped, guns raised, eyes locked.
They're coming.
Krell muttered, hands balled into giant fists, knuckles white. But nothing followed. Minutes passed. Silence stretched into agony.
Trap?
Zara whispered. I nodded. Feels like it. More waiting. Still nothing. Krell, ever the idiot or the brave one, maybe both, stepped to the door.
Fuck it. I'll peek.
He eased it open a crack, then stepped out. Hallway. Empty. He turned to signal us, when a skinned hand reached down from the ceiling and yanked his head back. Then chaos. I raised my rifle. Zara shouted. Blood sprayed. But Krell didn't scream. He roared, grabbed the thing, a flayed deer thing with twitching hooves and fangs, and snapped its neck, even as it clawed at his face. It dropped limp.
Son of a bitch bit me.
He grunted, tossing the carcass. You good? I asked.
No, but I'll kill more of them to make me feel better. Oh fuck, it bit me. Will I turn into that thing?
No, not according to everything I read back there. An egg needs to be put inside your body in order for you to become its host. Then it will eat its way out.
Krell and I shook with the creeps at the same time. I exhaled, heart pounding. I'm no hero, and you guys sure as shit aren't either, I said. We're getting off this rock. We couldn't go back the way we came. Hallway was caved in, drenched in crawling black slime. We jogged down a corridor, ready to pounce on any creepy fuck we saw. That's when we saw a locker room, scattered guard containment suits. Zara found 3 mostly intact.
Oxygen will last an hour. After that, we're fucked.
Good, I muttered. Motivation. We suited up, hit the airlock. Outside was worse. Wind howled. Sky like a dark bruise. Moon dust blew in choking waves. Things moved in it. Shapes. Crawlers. Run, I growled. We took the long way around, over jagged rocks, around ventilation towers belching black gas, through a graveyard of broken antennae. Something leapt at Krell. He pulped it midair. Another swiped Zara's helmet. She blew its spine out. I kept moving, firing when I had to. My ship, my sweet, ugly, beat-up bastion, was in sight, half buried in dust. We dove inside, sealed the hatch, and dropped to the floor, breathing hard. For a moment, just silence. Then the console blinked. Something was already inside. We've got a problem, I said. I cocked my gun. Round 2 was coming fast, and we were out of places to run. Then the vent clicked. Oh shit, I breathed. From the dark, wet scuttling, a low chittering. Krell grabbed my second pulse rifle and cocked it. Zara cursed, flicking her plasma core to max. We'd escaped the nest, but we'd brought something with us. Then it moved. It was a crawler. The sound startled me more than anything, but it was small. I crushed it under my boot. It looked like a twitchy sack of tumors with its shredded limbs squirming like pissed-off worms. But then the ground shook. Hard. Like the whole moon wanted to slap my ship off its crust. I felt the tremor through the floor panels, deep enough to churn your guts. Alarms howled, but my instincts screamed louder. I dove for the release lever, dislodging the docking clamps just in time. Boom. The moon split with the kind of sound that makes your ears bleed even through reinforced hull plating. And from the ruptured moon, a jagged canyon split straight through the center, glowing with this violent violet light. And then he came out of it. Crow. Like some cosmic wannabe god being vomited from hell's furnace, his wings unfurled, black as collapsed light. Behind him, hundreds, no, thousands, of the twisted mutant aliens, things crawled from the cracks like pus from a popped infection. They gathered underneath Crow, waiting. We weren't staring at the swarm, though. We were staring inside the moon. Because the moon wasn't a rock. It was a fucking ship. I shit you not. A living planetary-sized goddamn ship. Colossal biomechanical ribs curved inward like a ribcage the size of mountains. Energy pulsed through artery-like tunnels. Massive spires floated within it like suspended cities, alive with a violet pulse. The whole thing was breathing. Crow spoke. And when I say spoke, I mean my low and seismic vibrating in my bones.
You witnessed the first awakening. The first of the grave engines. Our kind was slaughtered, brought to the brink of extinction. Over time, the galaxies forgot what our moonships were, paid no attention as we brought ourselves back from the brink. Now we rise, and world after world will burn beneath our wings.
All I could say was, fuck. Zara checked her readout.
We've got 30 minutes of oxygen.
My fellow prisoners, you may join us. But first, kill your warden.
I froze. Krell opened the hatch. Guys? Zara smirked.
You do make it tempting.
Krell shrugged, grabbed my arm like a fucking vice and walked me out. Crow touched down in front of us, calm as death.
What's the signing bonus if we do?
Anything you could ever want, and more.
Then, crack. Krell fired first. Didn't even let the bastard finish talking. Plasma rifle. Dead center of Crow's chest. Only momentarily shocked, I swing my rifle, lighting him up too, and Zara followed. The air burned with pulse fire. Crow reeled, roaring, wings flaring. And then the horde came, like a fucking tidal wave of claws and bone. Zara pivoted, turning back towards the horde, coming straight towards the ship, and raised her arm.
Fuck it.
She winked at me. Then, her arm cannon ignited, tearing through her suit like wet tissue and vomiting fire onto the swarm. Mutants screeched and cooked alive, melting mid-charge. She held the line like a demon queen. Crow went airborne. Krell shot through his wings while I lined him up in my sights. Pulled the trigger. Boom. Right through the sternum. He fell like a dying star, crashing into the dirt. And Krell, that beautiful psycho, he sprinted after him, leapt, and started pounding Crow's face in like it owed him money. I heard the crunch from across the field. Chunks of black gore went flying with every hit. Crow's skull finally caved in, popping like a rotten pumpkin. Krell didn't stop pounding and ripping limbs off until the twitching did. Then I saw her, Zara, face down, not moving. Shit. I almost forgot she'd ripped her suit. No oxygen. I ran like hell, scooped her up and dove back to the ship. Krell stomped in after me, throwing Crow's torso to the ground as he ran. He hit the wall panel to close the hatch as he came, grinning like a lunatic, his suit dripping with alien sludge.
What happened to her?
She torched half the moon, with no air. He knelt next to her, nudged her with a finger.
Hey, wake up.
I blinked, because who the hell does that? Then he reached out slowly, but instead of the little nudge, he shoved the shit out of her until she rolled to her side. She coughed and opened her eyes. All those cyber upgrades and you still have human lungs, she rasped.
Fuck you.
I laughed. She glared at me, then smirked.
And you still have a punchable face.
Then she hit me, right on my jaw. We limped to the cockpit. I sat down, wiped sweat and whatever else off my forehead. What the hell was that? A ship? A moon? A goddamn alien blender? Zara muttered.
Mothership.
Grave engine.
Krell added. I grunted. Whatever it is, I'm warning the other black sites. If those things are waking up, we've got a galaxy-wide shitstorm coming. All of a sudden, Krell boomed with laughter. We looked at him.
We are the heroes, after all, no?
Zara leaned back, chuckling.
Well, I'm not saving the universe. I draw the line at moon monsters.
I call shotgun.
I glared. If you two are coming with me, you better have money for plasma cores. This ship doesn't run on hero juice. Zara shrugged.
Fair. But if things get too fucked up,
We bail.
Bail. We all said together. And that was that. The weirdest blood-soaked, oxygen-deprived crew in the system blasted off. Not heroes. Not soldiers. Just 3 psychos in a beater transport ship. And apparently, the last line of defense. God help the universe.
thanks for listening. I had a dream the other night about aliens, as in the first Alien movie, and that inspired another sci-fi horror thriller. I hoped you enjoyed this mini story. Well, until next time.